Hello everybody! So today's video I want to talk to you guys about diagnosis. Diagnosis day, if you're in the diagnosis process, if you have had a diagnosis for your child. I want to talk about the mental process, the load, the fear, all the above of what that is like. If you are new here, my name is Emily. I have 6 children. I have 4 children that have had a diagnosis. I mean, I don't know why I did this, but they all have diagnoses. It's a lot. Our load is a lot. Don't know why this happened to us, but this happened to us and we are conquering it. So I'll go down the list really quick. I have 2 twin boys. One has Angelman syndrome, one has autism. And then I have a 3-year-old daughter who has apraxia, and then I have a 7-year-old daughter that was recently diagnosed with CRMO. So I feel sort of like an expert about dealing with diagnoses and the mental load that takes on to parents, mothers, and what I've dealt with. And I just want to share with you some of my feelings about all of it, and what to expect, all the things. So I'm just gonna jump right into it. My son, who has Angelman syndrome, I would say he was probably the hardest diagnosis, just because it's probably the biggest one out of all of them, because it's the one that affects him, you know, it affects him dramatically. He will struggle for the rest of his life because of his diagnosis. I can remember when we first went to genetics and neurology, I had so much hope. I had so much hope it was cerebral palsy, and I know that sounds silly, but I did a bunch of research that they always progress, they can grow, they can build brain cells, that he could still maybe be a functioning person where he could talk and communicate, all the things. I had lots of hope, and that's the main thing, is you're gonna most likely have so much hope if you're in a big diagnosis time. Your doctors are gonna give you tons of hope. I know that's at least my experience for every realm of diagnoses. They always, you know, say, we're not going to worry about it till we know, which is great. It's still hard because for me, I lived in that hope so much, and when the diagnosis came, I crashed and burned. I don't think there really is a way to prevent the crash and burn when you get a serious diagnosis for your child, whether it be like cancer or a disability that they're going to deal with the rest of their life, or something that's really bad. There's no way to prevent that crash. But I can remember being very angry at the doctors when the diagnosis came for Griffin, that I was like, they shouldn't have given us hope. They shouldn't have done it. I was so angry. And I do believe now that I look at it, I really was just angry at what happened. I wasn't really angry at the doctors. I was angry at that this happened. And I wanted to blame somebody. I wanted to blame the doctors. I'm like, well, if they would have said it was Angelman syndrome and not given us all this hope, I would have dealt with it better, but realistically, no. So that is something I want you guys, if you're in the middle of it or if you're dealing with it after, to know that that is, I think, normal. Our situation might be a little different just because Griffin we were told he had Angelman syndrome, but then they said they wanted to retest him because they didn't think he actually had it, and then tested again, then it was in fact Angelman syndrome. So we had like 2 diagnoses back to back. So I was really angry at our geneticist for giving us that hope the second round. We had to wait 3 more months after we were told he possibly has this, the genetics that he, you know, came back, he had it, but they wanted to do it again because they just couldn't believe it was possible. So that was really, really hard. Now with Sawyer's diagnosis, he's autistic. I knew since he was 2 that something was up, even before 2. But like 2, I remember going, shoot, something's really wrong. And I would say for me, I was not ready to deal with it because I was dealing with Griffin and his diagnosis, because he just got diagnosed and I couldn't handle it. Sawyer ended up not getting diagnosed till he was 4 with autism. A lot of the problem was, you know, doctors giving him more time because he was very smart. He knew his ABCs and stuff, and I was very in denial, like, no, he's gonna bounce back. It's not gonna happen. He will work through this. And with Sawyer's diagnosis of autism when he was 4, because I had years to prepare myself for it, I remember feeling relief that it was done, that we now had it and I didn't have to think about it anymore, and I got to accept it. And that was a very different way of dealing with it, because I think I had a lot of time to process this. So if you've had, I think that's another way of dealing with a diagnosis. If you have been suspecting something, but it's been held off for so long, there is some relief to it, because you're seeing your child struggle or suffer, and then you get it and you're like, finally someone's gonna listen to me. I've had that experience, and then he can get the therapies and we can start moving forward. So I've had both sides with that one, like, no, like, this can't be happening, to, oh, thank goodness, like, this is gonna help him. So then we have Lindy, who just recently got diagnosed with apraxia. Apraxia is basically struggling to talk, if you don't know. Can't get from the brain to the mouth, and she just can't get the mouth to work. That was a blind side. I was blindsided. When she was put into speech therapy, I really thought she was just delayed. All my kids, all of them, have always just, speech has been hard. Like, it just came late. Harrison was late, Wynn was a little late, Posey was late. I mean, Griffin and Sawyer, they're their own people, they have a different story, but all my typical children kind of talk later. So I just thought Lindy was late, but we put her in speech therapy because, one, it's accessible here in Colorado, and it's you can get it easier. So I was like, it can't hurt to get her in speech. And I can remember the speech therapist coming up to me and going, I think she has apraxia. And I was like, what? What is that? Help. And she explained it, and I broke down that day. I cried. I was a miserable mess, and then I went into denial. No, she's wrong, because she really wasn't diagnosed yet. She was just thinking, she's wrong, she's gonna talk, there's no way. And then I kept working on it. She brought it up again, and then we ended up getting a new speech therapist, and I tried to get her I tried to take her to another speech therapist and to get her diagnosed, because I really wanted the diagnosis. I wanted someone to say yes or no, for peace of mind in my mind. And then eventually, recently, she got diagnosed by our new speech therapist. So when the new speech therapist came up to me and said, yes, we are officially diagnosing her with apraxia, I went from, it was mixed, really sad, like emotionally, like, no, I can't, this can't be happening, and to some relief, because she's not talking and she's 3. She's got 2 words. She has yeah 2 right now, so maybe 3. But it was very hard and emotional. And I mean, my emotions went from angry, hating the speech therapist, hating that this happened, going through, did I do something? Did I, in my pregnancy, do something? And that's something too, like, for moms, you blame yourself. You think maybe you ate something, you think maybe that you did something, you think all the things, and it's my bad genes, it's my bad genetics, it's my bad eggs, I go through all the realm. Even now, even when we have hard days in therapy, I go, was it my fault? Should I have never had children, because they struggle so much? Like, those are the thoughts I think. It's really hard to watch your kids struggle and hurt and all the things. So I remember that so vividly. So again, be patient with yourself if you are going through those emotions. They are typical, they are normal. Now with Wynn, who just got diagnosed very recently with CRMO, it was, I don't even know. I'm still in the processing stages of it. It was good because it wasn't cancer. So there was an upswing to it. It's still awful that she's in chronic pain every single day of her life, and I can do nothing about it. And I'm just giving her the medicine, and we're working on it with her doctor, but like, I have no control over helping her. I just keep giving her what she's supposed to have with her medicine and praying that this will go into remission. But I was angry, sad, crying, not okay. Still not okay with it. Still accepting it. But then I'm gonna jump back now to Griffin and his diagnosis. Where I'm at now, we are now a few years beyond the diagnosis. He is now 5. I have accepted it and I have embraced it to a degree. I recently, within the last year, stopped wishing for a different outcome all the time. I still, on hard days, I still wish sometimes it was different. But I'm starting to see now that his disability is changing me and our family for the better. He has brought so much joy and light and his knowledge to me in places that I didn't even know existed, with advocacy for special needs and disability, for advocacy for disability and in-home therapy and affordable insurance for all that need, for equipment, just things I just had zero idea till he was given to us and all my children. I just didn't know learning how doctors work and hospitals work and what the nurses have to do and all the things that I never had to think about until this happened. So if you're in the thick of it right now, it might take years, but I promise it will get easier on your heart and your brain to deal with the diagnosis. And I will say it comes in waves too. Like I said, in the beginning, I would be like, it's gonna be okay. It's not gonna be okay. It's gonna be okay. It's not gonna be okay. It would be like a giant roller coaster. I cried so much about Griffin's diagnosis. I remember hating the situation, looking at him and just wanting to shake it out of him, but like not, but like wishing I could just change his genetic makeup, like wishing I could fix it, wishing I could go back in time, all the feelings, all of it. Like it was horrible. Like I remember just all the big feelings. That does get a lot better, those big horrendous feelings. I want you, if you're in the middle of it, if you are feeling those horrible feelings, to not hate yourself. It is normal. It is 100% normal to feel those feelings, to wish why me, why him, why, all the whys. To feel like you wish you didn't have him, you wish that someone else could take him. Like I had all those feelings in the beginning because the diagnosis is so big. It feels bigger than you. It feels like a house on top of you. It feels like you cannot move on, go on, cannot deal with it. Just know if it is happening, it will get easier soon. Maybe not soon, but it will one day not feel like a ton of bricks on your heart and in your lungs and on your shoulders. It will not feel like it's crushing you from the inside all the time. There are days sometimes right now where I feel like it's crushing me from the inside. So, and just a little bit more about Lindy. We are still in the diagnosis processes with her right now. She will be being evaluated for autism in April. She's going to neurology to get an EEG to make sure she's not having seizures because she's having staring spells. She's getting the full workup because, as you can see, our genetics aren't that great. And we have lots of kids with disabilities, and we need to definitely get all the T's crossed and the I's dotted to make sure she is diagnosed properly so we can get her the help that she needs. I'm still hoping it is just apraxia, but for my peace of mind and for her, this has to happen, even though I don't want to do it, even though this does not sound great to me. But yeah, so that is the diagnosis journey. Please give yourself grace and time if you're in the middle of it. I look back at myself at those times and I want to hug her and tell her it's going to be okay. It's not going to be great. It's not going to be perfect. It's still going to be hard, but the way you feel right now, you're going to come out of. That's all I want to say to you guys. That's what I would say to you if you're in the middle or before or in the thick of it or even past it. It's just really hard, and there are light and darkness to it all. So that is it for this video. Thank you for watching. Follow me on all my social media, and we will see you next time. And please don't forget, guys, you all are wonderful. Bye.